Hey everybody, quick disclaimer, new text messages have been released, but I just want to let you guys know Republicans and conservatives are still sticking to their arguments. Democrats have nothing on the Republican Party or the Trump administration.
Okay, yes, effed up, we'll fix it, this won't happen again, especially when you contrast it with previous military and national security snafus in our recent history in which no one was held accountable.
I mean, you can't make this up. Democrats in 2025 really had the biggest opportunity to make the Trump administration look terrible because of leaked text messages, Pete Hegseth supposedly giving out classified information. It turns out nobody cares anymore, and now the script is being flipped on Democrats. Now, before we start the video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it helps others see the videos as well. It's a massive help. Let's begin.
Let's shift the narrative to let's hunt down the mole or whatever, they're going to pretend this is. And we were talking in the break. This reminded us of like Anthony Weiner, right? Like, those pictures come out and he's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I was hacked. And no, you weren't. You just sent it. This to me feels silly. And again, like taking us for fools. I know. We all know what happened. I'd have a lot more respect for these idiots if they just said, I made a mistake. I made a giant...
Okay, please leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this, because now we have a complete narrative shift and change, because it's almost as if Democrats forgot this is the most transparent administration we have seen in a long time, and the Trump administration has no problem acknowledging, yeah, we made a mistake, but we're gonna fix it.
Number on your phone. I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in.
You that
it gets
contact.
Sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was?
So the person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura, I take responsibility. I built the group.
Now look, let's be honest, if you're a Republican or Democrat, how rare is it you go on national television, you make yourself look like a fool and say, yeah, I did make a mistake. However, this seems to be the detriment of the Democrat Party, because now, like I said, the script is flipped, and now Democrats are getting called out for never saying when they make mistakes.
I think that's actually kind of a refreshing thing for the government to say, okay, yes, effed up. We'll fix it, this won't happen again, especially when you contrast it with previous military and national security snafus in our recent history in which no one was held accountable, no one was fired, no mistakes were admitted, until the very end, Joe Biden was saying Afghanistan was a success. I like it here that Donald Trump, the president, said he's a good man, but he learned a lesson. That tells me he and the president with Waltz had a hard talk.
Now look, things are getting even worse because Scott Jennings brings up the point that, look, you're getting mad about the success of this Houthi mission, and we don't have any evidence of classified information being released. However, you're not mad about Joe Biden's Houthi missions or lackluster of Houthi missions?
Plan to take out people who need to be taken out. There was a lot of concern about this national security team when it was appointed that, hey, they didn't really know how to do these jobs.
Yeah.
Given what the U.S. military just did
I think we were
to
right.
the Houthis, given what they just did, and given the way it was executed and handled at the highest reaches of our government, I have a lot of confidence in the president's decision-making and his top team's ability to carry out.
That is bananas.
We did exactly what we wanted to do.
Yes,
And
but
fantastic,
one wrong
saw
move.
how wrong this would have gone.
Do you not acknowledge that?
No, it almost blew
No,
up.
this is rank incompetence, and I am very fearful and amazed that this went off so well, because what could have happened could have been so bad.
I think the other thing is like...
All right, I want to talk to you about Aura, today's sponsor, because they're doing something really important. Look, I could go online right now, pay a few bucks, and buy anyone's personal data. It's 100% legal, no joke. Big companies get hacked every day, and your personal info is sold to scammers and spammers. They target you, and those companies face zero consequences. If the government can ban TikTok, why aren't they doing more to protect us from this? It's on us to take control, and that's why I use Aura. Aura handles the hard stuff for me. They track down where my info's being sold, and I make sure I'm off those lists. In just a few weeks, I stopped seeing my name pop up on shady sites. They also monitor the dark web for leaks and alert me if anyone tries to use my info to mess with my credit or bank accounts. And if the worst happens, they got my back up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. Plus, Aura's got a VPN with 100 plus virtual locations. Does your VPN do all that? So go to my sponsor, aura.com/T-SPLY, T-S-P-L-Y, to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed.
To add one more point, we are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread. But above all, we take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
One of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the...
Now, I don't know how to explain to you how much I am on my phone and how many clips I pull throughout the day as far as trying to gather clips for you to enjoy and form your own opinions. When this story first broke out, the amount of Democrats that went on CNN, MSNBC, it was a lot. Now all of a sudden, when you have the CIA director saying using Slack is permissible, and not only that, the Biden administration was using Slack. So if we're going to play the game of going through devices and seeing what people were talking about, I was told I'm allowed to use this for work. All of a sudden, I had trouble finding any clip of Democrats actually still talking about the leaked text messages. Unlike we saw the day previously where it was a constant, like almost every single hour, you had two new Democrats going on CNN, going on MSNBC. All of a sudden, this story is so squashed, I cannot even believe how squashed it is.
I mean, look, you acknowledge the mistake, you move on. Talk about how the administration is keeping the American people safe. I just talked with Sebastian Gorka a couple days ago, National Security Advisor to the President.
That's not a flex.
No. That's not why I'm bringing it up. The point that I was going to make, though, here is we talked a lot about what the administration is doing to correct some of the errors as it pertains to national security from the previous administration. Focus on those things. That's what the American people care about. I don't think the average person cares about this past 3-4 days. We move on.
What about calling Europe pathetic in those messages?
Calling Europe,
our allies.
Our allies.
They say that publicly. I mean.
Well, there was that.
Are you under any illusion that we're out here telling Europe how great they are as a public matter? There is a standoff going on right now between the president and the vice president and the leaders of Europe about what they need to be doing to secure their own countries. And by the way, they're right. They do need to step up.
Now, another key factor to the failure of the Democrat Party, I don't think they realized when the majority of Americans read these text messages, I think people were more shocked on how they were talking through this text thread, using emojis, talking about Europe. But the thing is this, everything they were saying in these text threads, like Scott Jennings is talking about, they would have said in public anyway. So if anything, I really do think this backfired on Democrats to try and blow this up, because what we are seeing are actual genuine voices behind the scenes being exposed to the public, and you're like, oh wait, JD Vance actually does act like that through text messages. Oh wait, Pete Hegseth is actually intense even through text messages and in public. Again, I really do think this backfired on the Democrats because Republicans don't even seem to care.
Well, of course it is. You can't have it all the ways. You can't say that Signal is super secure, yet we unwittingly added a journalist to it. That's crazy. You can't say that, there's no classified information on there, but I bet if Jeffrey Goldberg wanted to release it, he'd be facing some legal jeopardy. You can't have it all the ways. And with Pete Hegseth saying, nothing was classified. This is a hoax. And then you've got other folks like D&I, Gabbard saying, well, I don't know if it was classified. It might have been classified, but if he classified it, then it's not classified. You're talking about accountability, transparency. They took responsibility. I've seen none of that yet. I've seen obfuscation so far.
And let me just say, as a Minnesotan, Pete Hegseth is the worst export from Minnesota that we've ever seen, right? And let me be honest about something. His actions, his very undisciplined way of communicating put Americans' lives at risk, right? And he needs to either resign or be fired.
Now, we actually have an updated response from Pete Hegseth. Again, there's a lot of heat on Pete Hegseth as far as the accusations of him leaking classified information within that text thread. Now, here's what Pete Hegseth has to say. Again, this is brand new. As I make this video, this came out maybe 15 minutes ago.
Mr. Secretary, the messages the White House called authentic did at the very least include sensitive details about targets and timing. Did you declassify that information before you put it in the chat? And are you using Signal to discuss operations as sensitive as the strikes against the Houthis on a government or a personal phone?
First, all I would say is the strikes against the Houthis that night were devastatingly effective. And I'm incredibly proud of the courage and skill of the troops. And they are ongoing and continue to be devastatingly effective. The last place I would want to be right now is a Houthi in Yemen who wants to disrupt freedom of navigation. So the skill and courage of our troops is on full display. It's a complete opposite approach from the fecklessness of the Biden administration. President Trump said peace through strength will be brought back. Freedom of navigation will return, and that's exactly what we're doing. As I also stated yesterday, nobody's texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
So those same troops that you are proud of, do you regret putting information like the ones you did in the Signal chat that could endanger those same American service members?
Nobody's texting war plans. I know exactly what I'm doing, exactly what we're directing. And I'm really proud of what we accomplished, successful missions that night and going forward.
Now look, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, and I am a former veteran from the 101st Airborne, ironically, me and Pete Hegseth are in the same brigade, not together, but we're both Rakkasan's 3rd Brigade combat team. Anyway, my point is this. We all have the right to ask questions. Pete, do you think maybe you did put people's life at risk? And he keeps getting pressed and asked this question. He keeps saying no. And to the point of Republicans, the Trump administration, the Pete Hegseth, nobody was hurt. The mission was a success. I mean, if we're going to start doing the pointing fingers game, do you think you put people's lives at risk? You need to be very careful with this because you can go through every single administration, whether you go to Barack Obama, whether you go to Biden, whether you go to Bush, whether you go to Trump, you could really start pinpointing and getting a lot of other people in trouble. And it's a waste of time. If anything, we are now using the troops as pawns, as political pawns, and veterans know this happens all the time. So again, it's a really nasty tactic in my personal opinion, and I think we should move on. However, we are allowed to ask questions, but when you already got the response, now you're kind of fishing for a response, and this is why I really think when Republicans see this, or conservatives, nobody is buying the genuine aspect. Do you really care? Are you actually genuine? Do you care about the troops, or do you want to try and push an agenda here?
I do not want to be involved with you. No, I do. I think it's scary and it's gross and it makes me uncomfortable. And no, I do not want to be with you.
Scott? You guys are looking at this all wrong. You all are trying to minimize red flags. Let me just give you an alternative theory. More red flags, the better.
What?
I just think it may be that crazier is better on these first dates.
What?
I'm just saying, minimize.
You know what,
Scott? That's true. That's true.
What
are you talking about?
You guys may be on the wrong track.
Craziness. Scott's right.
I don't disagree with
you guys are looking for perfect, and I think you're letting perfect be the enemy of the crazy. And you want crazy. You're letting perfect be the enemy of the crazy.
Look, when Scott Jennings gives dating advice at the end of a CNN show, you gotta put it in the clip, especially if you are still watching this video. Sometimes I like to add little Easter eggs at the very end, you know, to acknowledge everybody who sticks with me at the end of these videos. It means so much. Anyway, thank you guys for everything. Please leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this, and thank you for getting me another sponsor on a video. I couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you so much. It means the world. God bless, and we'll see you all later. And guess what? I doubt we will even make another video about this because no Democrats even seem to be appearing on CNN or MSNBC anymore even talking about this.